Hi, welcome to our introduction to interior design for neurodiverse homes. Today, we're going to learn some practical strategies and tips that I found have been really helpful as we design and organize sensory friendly spaces. So, let's get started. First of all, I'm Rachel Jackson. Hello, everyone. I studied interior design at the University of North Alabama, and I worked alongside home builders and clients, a lot of clients turned friends here in Austin for almost 20 years now. And throughout that time, continuing education is just super important to me. I love learning new things. But something that has been really helpful recently was when I discovered the Institute for Challenging Disorganization and received two certificates of study, one in chronic disorganization, which frequently accompanies people with ADHD and other neurodiverse diagnoses, and also the level one certificate in ADHD specifically. I'm also working on my specialty certificate in ADHD, so I can just keep helping all of us swirly brain friends, as one of my friends likes to call us. Okay, so that is my intro. This is neuro-inclusive design is personal to me because I've seen how powerfully it helps settle nervous systems that tend to get dysregulated so easily. My own family is a festive blend of neurodiversity. We've got ADHD, pandas, HSP, which is kind of a catch-all, highly sensitive person, kind of a catch-all term for people who haven't been officially diagnosed, but definitely feel some. It's like my computer is getting overheated. That's so much fun. But who tend to feel a bit sensitive to their surroundings. So in that time, I've worked not only within my own family as an interior designer, but also with other families. And there's a lot of these user-friendly solutions that you really will be able to implement in an easy way. Okay, so we are going to talk about lots of different things. I'm actually going to close out some browsers real quick. Maybe my computer will stop overheating. Um, Gosh, that's super fun. Okay, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to hit the introduction of what is neuro-inclusive design, why is it important, and then we're going to hit some of the main areas such as color and visual stimulation, acoustics and sound management, textures, tactile comfort, lighting and visual comfort, space planning and traffic flow, olfactory considerations, safety considerations, home automations, and then just some practical changes that you can make as kind of a summary. So, first of all, what is neuro-inclusive design? Why is it important? So, neurodiversity, as we kind of spoke to a little bit ago, is an umbrella term that's describing a whole group of conditions. You've got autism on that list, you've got ADHD, learning disabilities, things like Tourette's, Down syndrome, mental health conditions. All these things can really impact the way that people absorb their environments. And these neurodiverse individuals tend to be hypersensitive or hyposensitive, so either oversensitive or undersensitive to sensory stimulation, such as light, sound, touch, smell. So, with these processing differences significantly impacting people's daily activities, it really shapes their experience of the world. So, in this workshop, we're going to explore some of the most well studied, impactful tools for this sensory challenged community. And I'm also going to be sending out the this exact presentation so that you can go through it a little more slowly and at your own pace and really read some of the stuff if you want to. I also have, let's see, is there a little, I don't know that you can see my mouse, but if you can, at the bottom of most of these pages, I have sources linked for you to read various studies or things that are kind of caught my eye. Okay, first of all, let's start off with visual stimulation. So, color and contrast. This is a little screenshot I took from GA Architects out of London, which is a firm that specializes in built environments for the autistic community. And they show that there are just some basic principles they found that are helpful. first off is this paint palette. They found that these colors tend to really resonate well with their students, their clients. Part of what it is about colors is you're just wanting to make sure that they're not too bright. So essentially, you could drop some gray or black in any color and kind of make it a little more muted, a little more muddied. And in general, highly sensitive people are going to respond better to those colors. It's going to kind of calm and feel calm, soothing, and all of that. Another thing is patterns. Avoiding a lot of pattern, especially on the floor, is something that they tend to do for their clients. Furnishings, soft, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but definitely soft and just more plain. And also, something we'll be touching on too is the type of fabric. So, a lot of times, more natural fabrics that don't have a certain, kind of off gassing, certain smell associated with more synthetic, chemical laden fabrics. That's actually a big thing too. Well, and then next gets into toxicity and fumes. So, low VOC, clean products, that kind of thing. Are These are the kind of the top things that they keep in mind for their commercial clients that we as primarily residential clients, can absolutely learn from. So I recommend you can see their link there at the bottom, going to their website and giving them a look. All right, so research shows that color choices do have a profound effect on sensory processing. Colors for calm tend to be soft neutrals. So any primary color of nature, think of it like blue for the sky, green for grass, brown for the ground. So neutral is not just black, white, and beige. Um, these colors have been shown to reduce overstimulation in both ADHD and autism. And we also see that contrast has a bearing on whether people feel calm or soothed in an environment too. So if you have something that's too high of contrast, for instance, in this first kitchen, um, you will see where it has the navy cabinets and the bright white background. Sometimes that can just look too busy. And so leaning more toward these two kitchens on the right side of the screen, where you have primarily dark cabinets and backgrounds, or the primarily lighter color as well. Those tend to be just a little more settling than something that's got a high amount of contrast. And sometimes in some spaces, you do want that stimulation though. So those areas tend to be an artist studio, a gym, a playroom, where you can bring those bright, energizing colors in. What's interesting is, so you'll see the little color dots that I have. The color dots on the right side and on the left side are actually the same ones. It's just on the right side, the more muted ones, I added gray to the colors. And so it really made them just muddy and more sensory friendly. But obviously, like if you need some pop in some of these other areas, feel free to go for those bright colors. But there's been some interesting research done around that, and several studies are linked below. Here are some examples of color and contrast. So just because you have high contrast or low contrast, just because you go low contrast doesn't mean that you have to have a either dark or light space. You can do low contrast light, like on the picture on the very left side of the screen. In the middle, this picture is kind of a low contrast midtones. And then on the right side of the screen, you see low contrast and some dark tones. So you can do low contrast and keep it light and bright, or go dark and moody, or something in the middle. Okay, so this is something you'll get into on your own, but basically it's a guide I have on my website, and It basically helps you narrow your style and your color palette. So we start off by the 5 steps to defining your project style. And then we go into, once you've discovered kind of what style you really enjoy, how to figure out what color palette you want. And this is just kind of a set of steps. That's a roadmap, that a lot of clients, it's a process I needed to create for myself when I was working with clients. So it's something that's helpful for me. I bring it in to every project, and you can download it on my website at racheljacksondesign.com. Go to design courses, I think it is, design guides. And then that takes you to the homepage on my Home Design Labs by Rachel Jackson Design website, which is just all my courses. You can also go directly there at courses.racheljacksondesign.com. I have that linked at the end here too. So, oh, in fact, I have it linked down below. Anyway, so efficient. If I could just remember how efficient I was when I made this. Anyway, so this is something that will help on a project, for you to figure out kind of what you're attracted to and what you want to go for and execute. All right. Also, in the visual stimulation category, we've got clutter and chronic disorganization. Now, as I said before, chronic disorganization does tend to follow our wonderful neurodiverse and neurodivergent brains. It's something that there's been a decent amount of study into, and there are resources, people that can help us. Because clutter and just visual busyness just tends to be overstimulating. Um, what I like to do is balance the clutter-free spaces with personal items, because it really, the personalization of your interior brings memories and, just kind of warm, cozy feelings that have their own value. Um, what I like to do, but to kind of bring in personality without getting super cluttery or overwhelmed. Like my mementos from trips tend to be usable or decorative items. So, for instance, coffee mugs that I'm actually going to use, coffee table books about local culture or food, architecture, and Christmas ornaments. Those are kind of my categories that when I'm traveling, that's what I'll get. And one of my favorite hacks for a memento that is decorative is, I'm actually looking at it right now. I've got just a small postcard sized, I think it's like a little note card, that I got in a gift shop when I was visiting a small castle in a very small town in Wales, like so tiny. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but um, it's one of my favorite pieces around the house because it was just a little watercolored print on a note card. It cost, I don't know, maybe like £3 at the absolute most. And I brought it home and I framed it in a little gold frame with a mat. And it looks like this beautiful piece of art. And so I've got that hanging on my wall. And it was, including the frame, maybe $20 at the most. And that's a nice little treasure that I have from my trip. So those are things that you can keep your house like full of character and personality, but without getting super cluttered. Um, let's see. Another way that I keep clutter at bay is I have, a set of nostalgia bins. So upstairs in my closet, I have a set of bins, and the one on top has the lid off that way, and it's kind of my ongoing one. So anytime I have like a concert ticket stub, a menu, from a restaurant that was a special moment, um, even sometimes like a t-shirt that my son has outgrown that I just kind of want to hang on to, and it goes to my little nostalgia bin. And I will say, I mean, I've been keeping those bins for about 25 years, and I have maybe 4 of them. So I think that's totally manageable for me. And they just kind of sit in my closet and I know where they are. And they're fun to kind of go through over the holidays, that kind of thing, to just kind of sift through. Um, anyway, that's one way that I kind of keep my things at bay, that clutter. Um, let's see. And also, so if someone gifts me something and I haven't used it in over a year, I do get pretty ruthless about my charity donation piles. Um, a lot of times, if I haven't used something, I will be so grateful in my heart for that person, for that item that they so thoughtfully gave me, and then I will go on its way on down the path to the donation center. So you you have to figure out kind of a strategy that works for you. Those are some things that work well for me, but it really does help keep that clutter and chronic disorganization from getting a foothold, which it could so easily do. And this is a quick little fact sheet. What's super helpful is if you do find yourself or your clients um, consider, you may be curious, like, might they be chronically disorganized? There are a multitude of fact sheets on the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, which is linked here. But they have great fact sheets, so you can kind of like go through and be like, oh, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, 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 and kind of figure out what to then do with that information. Um, some things like I am a maximalist in my design style. I love layers of cozy, interesting things. But it can be, I mean, like I have daydreams of being a minimalist. It's just never going to happen. And when I go on vacation, it is funny. I do tend toward the the spa, the more minimal Scandinavian or Japanese design. Like when I'm staying at a hotel, like all of that sounds very serene and nice. Um, and it sounds neat to have to live in a place like that. I just know myself well enough that I couldn't do it. But even as a maximalist who does thrive mentally in tidy environments, and I dream of minimal interiors, I have ways that I manage my cozy home. One of the things is color coded storage solutions. So, using kind of muted, non overwhelming tones to organize can help maintain visual order without stimulation. So, like, I use a lot of clear bins, but if I do need labels on something or if something needs to be opaque, for instance, like a basket on a TV console to hide like all the boxes and the wires. Oh my gosh, that stuff drives me nuts. Um, using kind of natural colors, that's ideal for that kind of thing. Frequent decluttering and storage furniture is important. So we already kind of talked about the decluttering, but storage furniture, one thing that's interesting that you don't really think about, and I'm not going to take a complete deep dive off the path, although I could on this topic, but when getting furniture, let's see actually if I can pivot over to a page that might have something like that. Um, let's see if there's one on the back here. So storage furniture, there's not really a picture of storage furniture there. Um, but when you're getting like a TV console or um, a buffet, a entry cabinet, try to make sure that it has doors that you can't see through. If you're using a TV console and you need to see through the doors so that the remote will work, I mean, that's different. Um, but the more storage furniture that you have, the more you can kind of hide those cluttery moments. In fact, I'm going to show you right behind me is an example. Let's see, which way do I go? Okay, there we go. Okay, that's my dining room kitchen. Right here behind my head, this is not going left to right. It's like mirror image. Anyway, under where my lamps are over there we go, is a storage unit. That's my buffet, but it also doubles as my office storage. I've got books under there. That's where my computer gets stored. Pencils, pens, random office things. And what's helpful about that is I can open it up and it can be completely useful. Oh, and I drilled a hole in the back and ran cords through it, ran an extension cord through it, and it's sitting in a basket. So if I need to plug in my phone, if I need to hook up my computer, any of that, when I'm not over here in my other living room office space, um, everything's in that cabinet. But at the same time, I can totally close it up and not look at any of it. So, storage furniture is massive in importance when it comes to keeping that kind of stuff, that visual clutter at bay. Um, and investing in either built in storage or working with a storage professional are definitely one of the best things a neurodiverse family can invest in. To organize well, I really recommend working with a partner. It doesn't have to be a professional organizer. You can just a friend who is probably neurotypical or knows themselves well enough to know like what strategies have been helpful for them if they are a neurodivergent individual as well. Um, if you do want a neurodiverse literate partner in this, I really recommend going to the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. Their Find a Professional directory um, is super helpful, and they're all the nicest people, and they would all love to help. So that is what I have to say about visual stimulation. Okay, now over to acoustics and sound management. So, noise sensitivity is common in the neurodiverse community. So, managing sound within a home is essential. Um, what's that look like though? So, soft surfaces really help to absorb sound. That looks like, and I would say the most important one is rugs. But rugs, curtains, upholstered furniture, all of that, because those hard surfaces are going to amplify sound. Um, acoustic panels are a very interesting option where a lot of them to date have been more of a felt surface and might not have like worked aesthetically with your design, but they're making ones now that have wood or have like a wood veneer on them, and those are amazing. Um, and then also white noise machines, just something to cover up just kind of the day-to-day sounds that can be distracting, disruptive. So two things on this. Rugs. Rugs can be tricky when you have either small kids or pets that don't always go to the bathroom where they need to go. Um, but I really recommend looking into number one, ruggable or other washable rugs. Those can be a great solution in that kind of time period of life, that life stage. Secondly, I buy most of my rugs on Etsy or Cherish or a website called Everything But the House. Also on my website, the courses.rachel-design.com. I didn't link it here, but it's linked elsewhere in here. I have a shopping guide with where I like to go um, for things like that for consignment or gently used vintage pieces, and rugs is one thing that I definitely get used quite a bit. So why I like that is you can buy very high quality wool rugs and that typically are pretty busy. Like it may be some kind of like a Persian kind of tribal design. And what's nice about that is they are so forgiving and they are made of wool, which is naturally stain resistant. In fact, on my Instagram grid, I have in fact, I should pin that on like why to get wool rugs. I have a white wool rug layered underneath a smaller um, Persian rug. And because in my new living room, the Persian rug wasn't big enough, so I layered a rug underneath it to make it big enough. And my dog brought a frozen cherry onto the white rug, and I had no idea about it for like an hour, and she was just playing with it. Anyway, got it all over. But because wool is so naturally stain resistant, I was able to dab it up using water and just like a tiny amount of dish soap. Um, Dabbed it up in under a minute. It completely came up. So you can go light color on wool, um, and it'll still just be very, very forgiving. So, anyway, all that to say, there are options for stains and spills in high traffic areas with rugs, and it's really going to make such a massive difference in just the sound of your house. So, if anybody's overly sensitive in your home, um, rugs, rugs. Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to say, something else I do is I don't always have a white noise machine going, although I do sleep with one. But during the day, what I like to do is, especially if I have to focus, if I'm writing, I cannot listen to music that has words. So a lot of times I'll put on nature sounds, whether it's like just a little springtime forest, maybe some water, something like that to really kind of like drown out what's going on in the neighborhood or in other parts of the house. Those things are very helpful day to day around here. Something else, and this is uh, easier sometimes when building a home from scratch, but obviously, like most of us are moving into homes where that's not an option. We're just moving into a home that exists. But if you can, designating quiet rooms or spaces for sensory breaks is so helpful for your sensitive family members. So for an adult, this could look like a sofa or a chair in your bedroom, someplace that you can just kind of go and retreat to, and make it some place that you really enjoy. So like splurge on a pillow and a nice throw. Um, Put in a stool so you can like prop up your feet. Just little touches like that can be very helpful. For kids and teens, this could be similar, creating a sensory getaway in their bedroom. Obviously, it's tricky if they share a bedroom. How I dealt with that growing up was I had kind of, instead of a sensory, kind of a sensory break space, I'm the oldest of a big family. There was no place to go typically during the day that there were not siblings. And what I would do is I waited till everyone was in bed, and I didn't do this consciously, like just looking back, I'm like, oh, that's what I was doing. But I created a sensory time for myself. So I would wait till everyone was in bed, and I was a night owl anyway. And I created this little place in my living room on my couch with a bowl of popcorn and my favorite cherry soda and my latest Sherlock Holmes audio CD from the library, typically. And I had my little like and I'd put on earphones and I would just listen. I would just dive into the world of my book and had my favorite snacks right there. And everyone else was gone. Like it was just very, that's what I was doing. I was giving myself a sensory break. So I didn't have the space for it necessarily, but I made the time for it when no one else was around. So that is something that, you just kind of make the best of a situation. And then when you are building a home, you can place noisier rooms like kitchens or play areas further away from bedrooms or relaxation zones to just kind of help reduce that sensory overload. Okay, so people have different tactile sensitivities for sure. Um, so offering and limiting different textures is crucial. Materials like microfiber, cotton, or soft wool, because some wool can be sadly too scratchy, can provide a soothing tactile experience. However, just remember softness is pretty subjective. So something that you may think is soft, your child, partner, friend may not think it's soft. So it kind of just all depends on the person's tactile sensitivities. Weighted and sensory friendly items are super helpful. They provide that deep pressure stimulation, which can be really just relaxing. I love my weighted blanket. So very nice. And then let's see, just general organizational tips, providing designated storage bins for sensory objects, just giving quick access to them, but they don't always have to be visible. That kind of thing is helpful. So aside from rugs, helping create like a nice sound to your environment, lighting, I swear, is the easiest and maybe the most inexpensive way to make an impact to your environment. So basically, layering lighting types is essential for balancing spaces, and this kind of goes into like a real deep dive on this page. I'm going to scoot over to and highlight something that is very helpful when using lamps. So that was kind of more about the lighting types, and you can go back when you get this and kind of, if you want to do a deep dive in that. But one thing to remember is when you have whatever, whether it's a table lamp or a floor lamp, you want the light bulb to be below eye level so that it's not glaring down at you. We were in this beautiful speakeasy over the holidays here in Austin, and we were seated in the room we were hoping we would get into. It was wonderful. Like the sound, the volume of the music wasn't too loud. The food and drinks were wonderful. All of this, but there was a lamp on the console behind my seat, and the whole time I was being like grilled by the light bulb. All they needed to do is have either, I mean, well, I'm getting a little bit technical, but the harp part of the lampshade, if they had done a shorter harp, the lampshade would have dropped lower and it would have dropped below that eye level. Either that or just a shorter lamp in general, but basically that lampshade needed to come below my eye level because it was just kind of like there the whole time. Everything else was wonderful, and that was just there. So think about that when you've got chairs next to a light source, that kind of thing. Now, over on the floor lamps, where you have like a tall floor lamp that's arched over, and maybe you do have a bare bulb that's above eye level, something to do, two things. There are bulbs that have coatings, kind of like a mirrored coating on the bottom half of the bulb that help reflect the light, but they're kind of guarding your eye from staring directly at the bulb. That, or there are diffusers that you can get for lamp bottom shades that just kind of fit up in there. That will just, you can't see through them and it'll let the light through, but you don't have to see the bulb. So those are some things that you can do. And these are taken directly from my lighting course. So I have an entire guide to selecting lighting around your home on my website, and that's linked below here. Okay, so lighting temperature, this is where it gets fun. Um, Basically, between 2000 to 3000 kelvins is warm white. So you can get kind of on the orange side if you go down to 2000 kelvins. That kind of amber glow you see from Edison bulbs, that kind of thing. I love just a good like 2700 Kelvin to 3000 Kelvin is kind of my sweet spot. Um, Anything in like over 3500 to the fours, 4000s are going to start looking hospitally. Um, and nobody likes that. So, where you can find these numbers, when you go to the hardware store, wherever you buy your bulbs, there's a little label on the back of the packaging that looks kind of like a nutrition label, and the kelvins are listed there. Okay, this is an amazing, one of my favorite examples of kelvins. Okay, so this photo is from a recent project, and it shows the difference in a typical daylight bulb. So I think the one on the right hand side was 5000 Kelvin, so it was like severely daylight. Um, and then there's a soft white bulb, the 2700 Kelvin on the left side. Okay, so when I walked into this home, it was beautiful in so many ways. But I immediately noticed that most of the lighting was all daylight bulbs. It was all this like warehouse glow, warehouse, hospital. No, thank you. Um, that basically it was just, it's very unsettling, especially when it was mixed in with some would be warmer bulbs and some would be daylight. And so it was just kind of this mix that I think it impacts more people than you know. I just think when you don't know what to put your finger on, you're just kind of like, I don't know, something's off, you know? So when I asked the client how she felt about me changing out all the bulbs to match the warmer, soft white bulb, the 2700 Kelvin, she was hesitant because she said that she hadn't been able to see as clearly when they were all warmer. And I realized the fix for that she thought was making them daylight, but actually we're getting into lumens, which is next, because lumens are what dictates how bright something is. We all grew up thinking it was watts, probably. It's actually lumens. We're going to get to that next, but let's do a quick group exercise. Okay, with your hand, cover the right side of the photo and just kind of like notice how you feel with the right side, the daylight bulb covered. Now move it over and cover the left side. Like, what difference do you notice in your body? Likely the daylight is meant to be more activating, more energetic. And the warmer side is more calming, cozy, that kind of thing. So it's interesting to see what you think, if you can feel a difference in your body when you look at just one versus both of them. Okay, so this is where lessons on lumens comes in. And similar to the Kelvin's nutritional label situation on the back of your bulb box, um, this also has a nutrition label looking thing, and you can tell how bright something is. So in my lighting guide, I include how many lumens should there be by room and by area. So over in a bathroom, or in a task area in a kitchen, or in your closet where you really need to see the colors of your clothes, vanity areas where you're putting on makeup, those areas obviously need to have a lot more lumens than just a general, you know, living room space or an entry. So I have that chart right here, and you can also find it linked if you want the full course. So all of that to say, I think there was something else I wanted to say on lumens. Okay, if I think of it, I will go back. But for now, that's a lot of good info on lumens. All right. So another area that is helpful for the neurodiverse is creating clear, organized spaces. So that can look like space planning and traffic flow, keeping clutter-free zones for walking, using built-in or storage floor to keep storage furniture to keep things out of sight, and maintaining those wide open walkways. I have here a list of measurements that are helpful for keeping things, keeping traffic flow areas nice and clear for primary traffic flow. And then also, like, you have secondary or like occasional traffic flow where you can kind of go through occasionally, and those can be obviously, smaller spaces. But in general, you want to have at least like somewhere between 2 and 4 feet for people to walk through. Um, Also, dedicated zones for activities are helpful. It can reduce anxiety and create a calming sense of order. So there is this floor plan, for instance, or this layout. It's in my living room guide, and what I did here is find your focus, find your layout. So kind of what are you doing in the rooms, and then you can figure out how your furniture should be laid out. What furniture do you need? So for instance, let's see if I can make this one bigger, but this floor plan needed to accommodate, this is where the family was hanging out in the evenings. This is where they are doing some occasional office, kind of at home office. So what we did is um, let's see, I really should have made this bigger so that I could read it. It's kind of some of my notes. But yeah, plenty of side and coffee table surfaces so that you can set things down, you can move things around, you can um, move things out of the way. And then easy to move cocktail tables, comfy U-shaped layout. So it's great for like chatting with each other and watching TV, and then some little ottomans so you can again put your feet up. I love swivels and recliners. A swivel recliner combo is what I try to put in all clients' homes. But if we aren't redoing all of the furniture and we're dealing with existing non-recliner pieces or non-swivel pieces, I will have options for footrests most of the time. And then in the background, you can't even really see it, but it's like lots of power strips and things like that for phone chargers and computer chargers, that kind of thing. And then we also get into a little bit of seating strategy. So once you do have your focus um, for the room, your seating strategy will flow out of that. So an L-shaped strategy, this is good for smaller rooms where you can kind of nest the seating into a corner. Um, and especially if your chairs are swivels, you can put the TV ahead of the sofa, and you can always swivel over to the TV with the chairs. But that can be good for like either a conversational focused room or a TV focused room. U shape is, again, it's kind of good. It's a very versatile shape. It's nice when you have a little bit more space to work with. And then you have the I shape, which is nice for more of a conversational relaxation space where it doesn't have to be so TV focused. Um, so those are just some nice layouts for uses of the area. So I will say, in today's open plan homes and when sharing space with family, strategies for dedicated zones can include like headphones, preferred soundscapes to filter distractions. Like I said earlier, I'll use some nature sounds, that kind of thing. And let's see, I think that's all I had to say about that area. Okay, heightened sense of smell is common. So, scent management or fragrance free environments really can make a big impact. I will say using unscented or naturally scented products is really helpful to prevent sensory overload. I'm one of those unfortunate people. Like, most perfumes give me headaches. Walking into Bath and Body Works is like an onslaught. Even though I like theoretically love the scents, it's just too much. Um, So, one thing I do that's helpful, because I don't want to just be boring and just have my home that has like scented free, scent free everything. Essential oil diffusers, I have those. Sometimes, like, especially the holidays, I'll simmer some herbs and spices and orange peel, that kind of thing. There are some high quality candles that I can handle the scent of. But in general, highly scented things are very distracting and really, I mean, it'll give me a headache. It'll make me nauseous. Like, it's not fun. Um, Also, one reason that I love used products, used furniture, so consignment or estate sales, Facebook Marketplace, is because when those materials are new, they tend to have kind of chemical smells to them. And so if you've given furniture the time to off gas, that can be really helpful. So this is especially true in anything that has foam in it. So pretty much all seating, anything that doesn't have natural hardwood, which would have like glues and things, adhesives, things like that, that off gas. Um, so just kind of being mindful there. So not only when you're buying secondhand, not only are you being more sustainable, but you're putting a healthier piece of furniture in your home, which is very something interesting to consider. Okay, especially for families and children with autism, safety is a significant concern. So while we're not really talking here about significant autism symptoms, we are at least going to broach the topic. You just heard my dog snore. Sorry about that. Um, we're wanting to make the interior as frictionless as possible, which is where automation can help. So we're going like touching on safety, um, as well as just kind of general home automation to help those of us stay on time for things. So, one tip is soft cornered furniture. So, opting for round edges over sharp ones, that that can be a helpful thing. Using visual subtle markers like different flooring patterns or changes in wall color to define spaces, just to kind of help the users understand the functions of each room. That can be a really welcome thing, especially with kids. And then again, especially with kids, Visual schedules reduce anxiety, inducing surprises from unexpected transitions. I really wish I had understood this more. My son Jackson was not diagnosed with ADHD until middle school. Although looking back, I mean, I knew we were dealing with sensory issues. And I just wish I had done more of this kind of thing, because transitions were definitely a big thing for him when he was, especially preschool and elementary school. Um, so you can go on Pinterest and find so many good examples of charts um, for those transitions, and visual timers and schedules, even for us grown-ups, like digital clocks instead of the kind of the hands, that kind of thing can be really helpful. And then smart technology. So whether it's smart thermostats, lighting systems, all of that, when quick adjustments need to be made, it's super helpful. Like, I do prefer to live fairly low tech in a lot of ways, but we moved into this house and it had a Nest thermostat system, and I was able to put it on my phone. And I was just like, why would I need that? But it is so nice when I'm downstairs and maybe we're watching TV late, the AC has come on before bed, um, and it's making me cold. And so instead of having to like go upstairs and address it, I can just kind of like tap on my phone and the wind will stop blowing on me, because it does sit right above our sofa. So little things like that, it just kind of makes things easier. And obviously, I could get up and go change it myself. But kind of making things, when sometimes when there are a lot of things happening, you just need to take something off your plate to like be messing with. And it's a nice way to do that when something's automated. Also, I think I use this the most, and it's the reminders. So, I'll say, hey, SIRI. If I say it, my phone's right over here, and it will talk back to me. So, hey, set a reminder for 10 minutes. And that helps, whether it's a pot of rice, oh, I need to be done with my makeup in 10 minutes, like whatever it is, I can set a quick alarm, which is so helpful. Okay, so to summarize some of these practical tips, color, stick with muted tones, may prefer limited contrast and patterns. And note I say may. A lot of these are generalizations. People may feel strongly one way or not at all. So it's kind of just it's up to you and the people you share your home with, to kind of figure out what works for you guys. But yeah, lighting, dimmers are ideal. And I didn't mention this earlier, but there was someone in design who said not having a dimmer on a light is like not having a volume knob on a speaker. Like, you wouldn't just expect one volume on a speaker, so don't do it with lights. So again, it's easier to do when you're building a home or changing out your light fixtures, that kind of thing. Trickier to do, when you're just kind of all set with everything. But when you can, put dimmers on your lighting, so you can go real low, or high as needed. Keep lighting warm, so that 2700 Kelvin sweet spot. No bare bulbs, no flickering bulbs, no fluorescent bulbs, which is the same as flickering. Um, and yeah, keywords here are diffused, dimmable, warm, glowing, and hidden. That's where you want to keep your bulbs. Sound, music on in the background to drown out distractions, whether from inside the home or outside the home. Nature sounds can add comfort and help you zone in at work and school. There's actually an interesting thing. So, um, there's a study done on the impact of the sound of birds on our nervous system, and it follows um, the thought that in the wild, birds aren't singing when there's a predator around, and so people naturally feel more relaxed when there are birds singing, because it means there's no predator. So it's like this kind of primal instinct or primal response that we all have. So sometimes if I really need to calm things down, it's forest sounds with birds. And I'm like, okay, you can kind of settle your nervous system naturally a bit. Um, anyway, so yeah, music on in the background, nature sounds. that kind of thing. Textures, keep things soft. Soft is subjective, so whoever feels or whatever feels right to the user, go for that. For space planning, keep those paths wide and clear, limit busyness and visual clutter, and then furniture that doubles as storage to help provide that organization and just kind of reduce that visual busyness. Scents, avoid chemicals or artificial fragrances where you can, especially stronger ones. Natural options can be a soothing alternative if that works for you. And then under safety and home automation, rounded furniture, then timers and visual schedules are helpful. And then just general comfort, heating pads. Heating pads can be a great way to add comfort to a favorite sitting area. I have them all over my house. Bringing nature indoors by adding real or like high quality faux plants. Watch out for their smells. They can kind of smell plasticky sometimes. But just kind of adding that greenery is really very soothing. Um, I personally opt for a easy to care for combo of both real plants and fake ones. Okay, well, that is all from the Home Design Lab today. Reach out if you have any questions, visit my website, and remember, I offer monthly um, workshops just like this. So definitely feel free to hop onto Eventbrite and follow me at Home Design Lab by Rachel Jackson Design on Eventbrite to see what I've got coming up. Okay, you guys have a good one, and we'll chat soon. Oh, totally. I forgot. I should have kept going. My neurodiversity resources, of course. Okay, so I've got some organizations that I really want to highlight, and then some books. Um, okay, so the Star Institute for Sensory Processing, Autism Speaks, autism.org, CHAD for ADHD, and then the Institute for Challenging Disorganization for finding an organizational professional, seeing what classes they have, and just their fact sheets. And then some books. The last one on here, I finally got it in print, delivered, and I opened it today, so I'm really excited about that. But Making Homes at Work, so planning, design, and construction for person-centered environments and families living with autism spectrum disorder. That's a massive one. And then the other two, Thinking in Pictures, My Life with Autism, and Driven to Distraction. Those are some that I highly recommend getting. Okay, so yep, thanks so much. And here's where you can find and follow. Okay, you guys have a good one. Bye for real.